Cheese. All right, and welcome back to another episode of That's Some Cheese, part of the Vendetta Sports Podcast Network. Today is Sunday afternoon, about 12 o'clock here. We are going to continue the Behind the Blog series. If you haven't checked those out, do that. We interviewed Alex, we interviewed Jarrod, and now we have Gavin on the line. He does a lot of Avalanche articles, some soccer articles. Gavin, what's going on? How are you?
I'm good, Trey. How are you?
I'm doing all right. So I guess the first thing we can dive into here is you wrote a post about how you sort of fell in love with hockey. And I want to start there because born in Ireland, moved to California. I guess sort of dive into why you moved, what made you fall in love with hockey for those who haven't quite read the blog, and I'll link that in the podcast, but sort of dive into what made you move from Ireland, how you got into hockey, and how we sort of found you with the site.
So the move to America is quite easy. It was for love. My wife is American. She was born and raised here. We met online, and then I happened to be in San Francisco visiting, and we met up, and it went from there, and we haven't looked back since.
That's crazy.
She didn't want to. She didn't want to move to Ireland because it's extremely cold in Ireland, even during the summer months. I mean, compared to California, it's ridiculous. So I moved here and pretty much started life over here. As far as the Avalanche go, when I first moved here, I knew that I'd kind of left everything behind me in Ireland. That not many places were going to do a background check to a company in Ireland they'd never heard of before. So I started out basically from ground level up, and I started unloading trucks in Macy's. And Macy's didn't actually want to give me a chance. It's a funny story. I went in for a sales position. They took one look at me and obviously thought, you don't look like a salesperson. So said, we have something in our receiving dock, so let's bring you down there and meet the manager. So I went down, met the manager. He was like, look, you're far too qualified for this position. And I explained to him that, look, I'm just looking to get a job. I just need something to get income pretty much. And he gave me a chance, and we got talking. And he was actually from Colorado and was a Colorado Avalanche fan. So he was the one that got me kind of into hockey in a certain way. I wouldn't say I took it serious. I didn't take it serious until probably around the 2016-2017 season. That's when I really, really got into it and started watching all the games, everything like that. So he was the one that introduced me to it. And then my brother-in-law got tickets to go see a Sharks game, Sharks versus Kings. So that was my first ever hockey game. And I loved it. I loved the atmosphere. I didn't really take either team, which living in California and living where I was at the time, the Sharks would have been the perfect team. But I don't know, there was something about both teams I just didn't like. So continued to just watch hockey kind of casually. And then 2016-2017 season, I said, right, I'm really going to get into this. I'm going to pick a team. I'm going to really get into it. And the team I picked because of the Macy's manager was the Colorado Avalanche.
That's insane.
And of course, that first season I followed them was their worst season in history. So I start following them, and they instantly become the worst team in the NHL. So I'm thinking I'm jinxed. That's it. I'm done. But luckily enough for me, we got some draft picks. We got some really good young players like Cale Makar, Sam Jarrod. And the last two seasons have been, I wouldn't say great. We haven't won anything, but they've been a lot better than that first season. We've made the playoffs both years in a row. So here's fingers crossed that, the future is going to be good for the Avalanche.
I want to get to the Avalanche in a second, but first I want to talk about, that's you just kind of brush over. Oh, I packed up and left. I sort of think, I'm going to start baseball career. I'm going to have a chance to move, but, that's going to be hard. Just packing up and going to a new city, nobody you know. Wasn't that difficult? Just, you're not even moving to a new city. You're moving to a different country, across the world. Wasn't that hard?
It was. Her family were fantastic, I have to say, in helping me kind of bed in. I was coming over back and forth for quite a while. Back in Ireland, I worked for a company called B&Q, and we had five weeks of paid holiday per year. So I would use them 5 weeks in 2-week increments to come over here and visit Jen, my wife. So I knew all her family, I knew all her friends, and when I made the transition, when I did come over, I'd say about 2 weeks in, I got a real bad dose of homesickness. And I think it was because the longest I'd ever been here was 2 weeks, and I got past that, and all of a sudden was like, shit, I'm not going home. That kind of hit hard. But we worked through that. I've got a job. I've made new friends over here who have been fantastic as well. It wasn't as easy as just upping and leaving. There was a long 1.5 year period of, going through visas, going through interviews, all that kind of stuff, which if you're a person like me who gets nervous at all, is not good. But we got through all that, and it took 18 months, but we got to where we needed to be. It was definitely a culture change moving here because, again, where I moved to in California, I mean, we don't see weather lower than 60 degrees at any point of the year. If you're in LA, it's 70 degrees year round. So moving here and I remember moving to where we're currently living, and it's in the Valley of California. And the first summer I was here, there was a day that was 110 degrees, and I was just about ready to just pack my shit and go back home because I was like, this is ridiculous. This is absolute 110 degrees. That should not be possible.
Wow. So let's talk about the Avalanche here. I'm sure you have never played this game, but when I was real little, I would have been an Avalanche fan. I remember playing NHL Hits. It was like 2000. And they had Forsberg, and this is before you're starting to watch them, but like that's what sort of drew me to hockey, like the crazy big hits. And when the lockout happened, I kind of lost, I don't know, I just never kind of got back into it. And now hockey's like completely different. There's a lot less hitting, there's a lot less fighting. Do you like that sort of game? Because I want to really get back into hockey, but it feels so different, and it's like hard for me to catch back up.
So one of the things that really attracted me to hockey was the physical nature of it. When I first started watching it, the hits, the fights, that was what attracted me to hockey when I first started watching it. Because I grew up in Ireland, from the age of 2 or 3, I had a soccer ball or a football tied to my foot. And back then, football was very much a contact sport. Like some of the tackles you would see in the late 80s, early 90s in football in England were like they were career ending, and that's what I loved about football. So when I started watching hockey, I loved that physical aspect of it. But in the last couple of years, I wouldn't say I've got completely away from that. It's still great to see hits, and it's still great to see a fight every now and again. But you see some of the skill that these guys have, like Connor McDavid is for the Edmonton Oilers. He is just stupid. He is just absolutely stupid. The ability that guy has is unbelievable. Nathan McKinnon for the Avalanche. And the thing is, all these guys are all young. They're going to be the future of the NHL. So you want to see it go that way. You want to see these guys get protected. But it's funny you mention it because during the quarantine, a lot of the people I follow on Twitter that are hockey geeks, for a better term, have been posting NHL hits or hockey hits or whatever it was called back then, and to see the graphics to what they are now is just ridiculous. But I can understand why people would be attracted to that game. That game looked fun to play.
I want to ask another question about sort of Ireland, because I've always said this. I'm so happy I was born on the East Coast where it's cold, because I honestly think it builds character. I don't know if you agree with me, but like I think the cold weather and the snow, and I think that sort of stuff builds character. I grew up a wrestler, and I sort of feel like it helped me become tougher. And maybe that's crazy, but would you sort of agree with that you're happy that you grew up in Ireland, that it was cold and that there was snow and that it wasn't always beautiful weather? You had to overcome things.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, one of the things I talk about constantly with my friends, with my coworkers and stuff like that is I don't drive. To this day, I still don't own a car.
Wow.
I grew up around motorbikes. My dad worked for Honda in Ireland, so I grew up around motorbikes. So they're my thing. I'm not into cars at all. You could name off cars and I wouldn't have a clue what you're talking about. And when I moved here, I never learned how to drive. So luckily for me, everywhere I kind of work, well, or where I work now, is within walking distance, and I walk. And everyone in work is just going, like, you walk? I'm like, yeah, it's only 20 minutes. I used to walk longer when I was in Ireland. Like, I would walk through hail, rain, snow, everything in Ireland to get to work. And it was like a 35, 40-minute walk. Excuse me. And it's like, people are like, that's crazy. I'm like, no, that's Ireland. Because if I was to buy a car in Ireland and drive to work, it would still take me 35 to 40 minutes because of the traffic. So why not just walk? You just put on a load of clothes, you bulk up, and you walk. And it does. It toughens you up because you're walking streets like late at night with no street lamps, and it's just gonna keep your head down and keep walking. You know, if anything happens, just have your fists ready to throw if need be.
Yeah, that's funny because like California, you probably met hundreds of people that never have shoveled snow in their life, and it's hard. Like that shit will kick your ass just shoveling snow.
Yeah, it's unreal. My family a couple of years back, they had a really bad snowstorm in Ireland to the point where my mom and dad couldn't open their front door. If they opened their front door, the snow was going to come into the garden. They had to get a neighbour to shovel snow away from the door so they could actually open the door to get out. And I showed my son, and he was just kind of like, why are they doing that? I'm like, oh, you've only ever known California. That's right. You don't know anything about this yet. This is going to be totally new to you once it starts happening.
Yeah, I'm glad that I actually had to go through it, though. Let me talk about your writing, because we found you. I don't even remember how we found you. How did we find you? How did you get involved with the site? Because I don't even remember, actually.
Sports. What's that? Connecting sports.
Oh,
writers?
got it.
The
Yeah.
Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a little background. I studied film and TV history. I studied media studies, the lower than Clown College degree. I studied that for 5 years back home in Ireland when I left our, I guess you guys would call it high school, we call it secondary education. When I left that, I went and done media studies, TV and film, and that's where I get my love for writing, where I get my love for TV, film, everything like that. I got from there. It was very, very hands-on. We had to do script writing, we had to do photography, we had to do, shoot our own films, edit it, the whole lot. So I've always enjoyed writing. And when I came here, when I came to America at first, and my wife was working, she had the better paying job. So when she got pregnant and we had our son, I was the stay-at-home dad. So I got into doing podcasts and setting up a site and all that kind of stuff. Once work kind of picked up for me, I had to let that go to two guys who worked on it with me. I had to let it go to them and kind of say, hey, you guys take control of this because I don't have enough time anymore. When that happened, I stopped writing for a bit, and then I just found myself writing short stories and stuff like that. And I was like, I really want to get back into this. So first on the Connecting Sports Writers, I found a website. I don't know, can I mention other websites?
Yeah.
Okay, so I found a website called The Fresh Take, and I started writing a couple of articles for them about mainly about the English Premier League. And I found that my love for writing was coming back. But I found that I couldn't get my stuff out there quick enough because once I submitted the article, it would sometimes take 2 days, 3 days for it to be posted online.
Yikes.
By that point, it was kind of irrelevant.
Yeah.
And I understand why, because the guy who ran the site was overwhelmed with finishing college and doing all these different things. He didn't have enough time. So I started looking for other websites to write for, and I found two. I found Overtime Heroics, who never published any of my articles, so I just stopped writing for them. And I found Vendetta Media, and once I found Vendetta Media, I started off writing EPL, and then I'm still learning hockey. I'm still learning the terminology of hockey. So I didn't really feel 100% comfortable writing about it, and I still don't. But I feel like I'm getting better, and I feel like I'm progressing. So that's how I met Vendetta, and that's how I met you. And I mean, it's fantastic working for this site because given there's a time difference between me in California and you in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's time difference there. But once I get an article done, put it up, like literally 20 minutes later, it's online, ready to be retweeted, ready to be shared. That's something that they didn't have with the other two websites. I'm not trying to diss them or anything, but they didn't.
Well,
so that's why I found Vendetta, and I kind of, okay, this is where I'm going to write for. And I stopped writing for everywhere else. After about two or so weeks, I just stopped writing for everywhere else and said, this is where I'm going to write for.
Well, I'm glad you picked us because I'm a psycho when it comes to this stuff. I try to get everything up as soon as possible. So I hope you don't have to ever worry about that stuff. Let me talk about, you're actually kind of just getting your feet wet, actually. Like, haven't been anywhere for too long. So let me ask you, 5-year goals. What are you doing in 5 years? What's your goal for the site? What's your goal for your job, family? What are your goals? You're sitting here 5 years from now.
I would love to be writing full time. I would love to be writing to a point where it can support me and my family. That's the ideal goal. That's like, if I can do that, great. That's what I want to do for the rest of my life. But with that aside, I do have aspirations in my workplace at the moment. I want to move up. I want to go higher than what I'm currently at. I'm already at a managerial position, but I want to move higher and I want to go up in the company. And I see that as a very viable option. I think it's definitely doable. I think I'm doing a lot of stuff that I need to do to get to that level already. But I'm going to continue writing. Like I don't take breaks. When I'm on my lunch and work, I'm either looking at hockey or I'm on Hockey Reference, which is a great website to finish up articles, to write something, to get an idea to do something else. Because if I can work in this full time, then that's definitely what I want to do.
That's the goal for me too. We have a long way to go, but I think we're definitely on the right path. And your articles, I will say, hockey wise have definitely, I think they get better every single time. I'm definitely impressed with the progress that you have. So I think 5 years from now, I hope that's viable. We're moving at a pretty fast pace too. Let me ask you some California questions because I've never been there, always wanted to go. What is your favorite food and what is your favorite sort of thing to do around there?
Favorite food is going to be a real generic one. It's probably what you hear from, if you ever talk to a Californian person, it's probably what they're going to say. In-N-Out Burger. It's oh my God, they do these thing called animal fries, and it's just the best thing I've ever tasted in my entire life. It's amazing. But it's weird as well because there's a lot of other places that back in Ireland I would have looked at the food and went, no, I'm not eating that, rather than trying it. That's the way I was back then. I tried guacamole for the first time ever there about a year ago. So I'm still trying new things, but at the moment my best food would be In-N-Out. Without a doubt, hands down In-N-Out. As far as places to go, I mean, we have Disneyland. You know, and my kid's at that age where he just absolutely loves Disneyland. So we have annual passes and we try to get down there as much as we possibly can. For if I have a weekend off or I've had days off, then if he's on summer holidays, we'll try to get down there as much as we possibly can.
I'm a big seafood guy, so I would love to go to California eventually and see if I can find some good seafood spots. That would be what I would be looking for.
There's a lot, especially on the coast. You know, when you go up and down the coast of California, there's a lot. We've been to Pismo a couple of times, and the seafood, Pismo Beach, and the seafood there is really, really good. I do like that. But it's weird because you guys put batter, I think is what we call it. I don't know what you guys call it, but batter on top of the fish is like, and we do that in Ireland, but that was never the way I was raised. My mom always made it completely different, and I'm just kind of like, yeah, it's good, but it's not as good as my mom's.
I actually don't eat it like that. The only time I've really had it like that is when I went to London and I got the fish and chips. That's really the only time I have it like that.
you think of London?
I liked it. I really liked it. We went to the West Ham Stadium to see a baseball game. It's interesting. The food actually isn't that exotic to what I thought it would be. The only thing that's really different is that Sunday roast. Everything else is kind of sort of the similar. I don't know. I had fish and chips three times though.
The food there, and it's the same in Ireland. The food back home in Ireland is bland. It's a lot of the same stuff, but at the same point, when I go home, I'll fill up on that stuff to keep me going for the next year or two until I can get back home again.
I could talk about travel stuff all day. Let me ask you about Ireland. What do you miss the most? You're going back to Ireland. What are you doing? Because I want to travel the world. I want to see everything.
So it's weird for me because my wife's been back a couple of times, and so has my son. But the last time we went, it was for something, so we kind of went, did that thing, relaxed for a couple of days, and came back. And I grew up there, so I've seen everything. So people are like, "Oh, go here, go there, go there," and I'm kind of like, "I've seen everything." I keep forgetting in the back of my mind that my wife hasn't seen it, so maybe she wants to see it. But the things I look forward to when I go back to Ireland, it's real simple stuff. It's seeing the family, seeing the friends that I grew up with and that have been around for so long, seeing them, and then the weather as well. Like, we were hoping to go back in July before the coronavirus thing kicked off, and that would have been nice because it wouldn't have been crazy warm, but it wouldn't have been cold either. That's probably a good time of year to go. I mean, just so much stuff to see. And Ireland's so small as well. Like, rent a car, drive around Ireland, you do in about 2 weeks.
Beautiful. All right, Gavin, do you have anything else you want to share with the viewer? Any dark secrets? Something people might not know about you? Things you want to share? Anything else?
Dark secrets. One of our new writers, Colin. I started following him on Twitter, and he's a big pro wrestling guy by the sounds of it, from the tweets I can see. And I remember growing up watching that stuff, and he's mentioning wrestlers now, and I have no idea who they are. But every so often I'll see something saying Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels. I'm like, I remember those guys. Those guys I do remember. That's probably my biggest thing from my past, is I was a big pro wrestling guy.
I used to watch it when I was like 5, 6, 7 years old, and I'm completely out of it now.
You learned the real wrestling.
Yeah. All right, Gavin. Thanks for coming on the podcast. I hope the viewers get to know you a little bit better. He does the Avalanche blogs, does the soccer blogs. Gavin, I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Anytime.
Tell you something. You know what really grinds my gears? You, America.
From watching,
fuck you,
listening, and
Diane.
we'll see you next time.